Okay, another video on some very basic arithmetic series questions. In this particular one, once again, I give you the arithmetic series, and once again I'm asking you a very straightforward question. I'm just asking you one thing this time: find the sum of the first 50 terms. At first glance it looks almost identical to ones that I did on a previous video. Well, in principle it is identical, but there's one subtle difference here, and you need to be just aware of this. If you go through this, well, first of all you can see that the first term is 20, that's not a problem. But when you come to look at the common difference, you can see that the numbers are getting lower by 3 each time. So the common difference is a -3. You're adding a -3 each time, if you like. So what that means is, sooner or later, if you keep adding -3 each time, in other words taking away 3 each time, very soon the numbers will start turning negative. Now as soon as they start turning negative, when you're working out the sum of those numbers, what you're going to find is that at first the answer is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger because you're adding positives, but after 10 or so, 12 perhaps, numbers being added, it actually starts getting smaller again. And as you add more and more negative numbers, it is quite possible, and certainly by the time we get to 50 terms, that the actual sum of numbers is going to end up as a negative quantity. So what's going to happen is the first few numbers here will be positives, and then the majority of the numbers will be negatives. So if you add the two different types of numbers together, then they're going to cancel each other out largely, but because there's more negatives, I'm expecting the end result to be a negative quantity, because the negatives, because there's 50 terms, are going to outweigh the positives here. I hope that makes sense. Well, let's just see what happens. I want the sum of the first 50 terms, so I'm going to use the Sn formula. Sn equals n over 2, 2a plus n minus 1d, like so. So, I know that I'm looking for for n equals 50, so 50 terms. So the sum of the first 50 terms is equal to n over 2, well that's 25, 50 shared by 2 is 25, bracket 2a's, that's 2 20s, 40, plus n minus 1, that's 50 terms, so take away 1, 49 lots of, and then d is -3, so we get -3 there. So you get S50 is equal to 25 lots of 40, 3 49s, well 3 50s are 150, so 3 49s are 147, you're going to get -147 there. So S50 turns out to be 25, and then in this bracket, 40 take away 147 is -107, like so. So you can see you're going to get a positive times a negative. As predicted when I first talked about this, that is going to give us a negative answer. So 25 multiplied by 107 gives you 2,675, but obviously a plus times a minus is a minus. So the sum of the first 50 terms is going to be minus 2,675. Remember, the first dozen or more terms are positive, but because they're getting lower and lower each time, they're going to soon turn negative, and so the bulk of the numbers are negative. So when you add up all the positives with all those huge number of negatives, the sum ends up as a negative quantity. So that is a very basic question on that particular type. Okay, so be aware of that quite often you end up with a negative when you've got a common difference of 3, of -3 or something like that. Okay, let's have a look at another one, another basic one. So number 4. Okay, I'll give you a very similar one here. This is basic example number 4. Let's say I give you 36 plus, let's say we go down in 5s, 31 plus 26 plus 21 plus 16, and all I'm going to ask you in this question is find the 60th term. Okay, the 60th term. Well, if you think about it, you can see the numbers are getting lower by 5 each time. So by the time you get into the 60th term, the 60th term will definitely be a negative number. So we're looking for a negative answer. I want the 60th term. I don't want the sum of, so I'm not using the sum of formula, I'm just using the nth term formula, which is a plus n minus 1d. So if I want the 60th term, okay, I want t60 equals, in this particular question a is 36, common difference is equal to negative 5, because we're going down by 5 each subsequent term of the series. So a, 36, plus n minus 1, 60 terms, so 60 take 1 is 59, times by d, negative 5. So we end up with that calculation to do. So the 60th term, t60, is 36, a plus times a minus is a minus, and then 5 times 59, 250, 295, like so. So t60 is equal to 36, take away 295, so take away 265, 259, minus 259, and there you go. That would be the 60th term in the list if you carried on until you got there. Now of course, as I said to you before, there's nothing to stop you actually taking away 5 until you get to the 60th. Except, even though you get the right answer, if you do it carefully, the examiner's not going to give you any credit for that because it's not a sensible way of proceeding. Okay? So 2 more very basic questions on arithmetic series. In the next video, we'll make things slightly more difficult.